I was taught about God as a child. As I grew older, the idea of God as a guy in the sky, some glorified Santa Claus, did not make sense. Then, in psychology graduate school, I was taught that God was created by man as a psychological crutch for existential issues. I wrote a defense of that position in a religion class and was certain I would get an F. I think I got an A on the paper, but it was what the professor wrote at the end that was life-changing. He wrote, "Your faith must be great that you wrestle so strongly with God." He made me realize you don't work hard to deny something you think doesn't exist. From that day forward, I determined that instead of throwing God out because he didn't make sense to me, I would not make that God's problem but mine. What didn't make sense was a function of my misunderstanding. So, rather than dismiss God, I tried to make sense of what was written. And the more I read and thought about it, the more I saw the meaning and the sense. So, my understanding of God may not match common understandings, but God is now real to me and the things that Jesus taught about God make sense. So I now can believe that Jesus was the Son of God, but again, probably not in the anthropomorphized way people are taught in church. So there was no one piece of evidence because belief in God does not depend upon evidence. It depends upon understanding the nature of God and consequently knowing based on that understanding, that God cannot not exist. Having grown up on a farm in northern Maine with no TV and going to church 6 times a week where my father was a deacon and my mother was a Sunday school teacher, I did not need any evidence to believe in God. I was told that only 14,000 Baptists were going to heaven and I wanted to be one. I was studying for the ministry. Eventually it was the reverse for me. By leaving home and going to college and taking a philosophy course, I found out that there were so many Baptists in the world as I imagined. Baptists make up a ting percentage. What I had been told meant that the entire world was going to hell and everyone was going to be tortured by molten lead being poured into mouths, forever. That was evidence enough for me that their God did not exist. No one could be that cruel. Then I found out that the Bible is nothing but the rehashing of old myths. Enough evidence to tell me that there is no God or gods. Evidence doesn't work with religious people. They are motivated by emotion, not logic. The need for a religious experience, according to scholars, was installed into our DNA by mindless evolution. Like every other quality that evolution built into our brains, some of us have a lot of it and some of us don't have much of it. Shoe size, hairiness, height, anger, etc.